Spider-Man, brand new day from Sony Pictures in tandem with the Walt Disney Company and Marvel Studios has broken down all the doors this weekend, not only at the domestic box office, but around the entire globe, pulling in roughly $1 billion in its opening weekend. This thing has exceeded everybody's expectations, even on the wildest of high ends. And that wild card didn't just come from China, as I projected a few days ago, but from around the entire planet of Earth. Let's do this. Ready Online. All right, kids, let's get straight into this right off the bat. Look at what we've got here from July the 28th. That's Wednesday this past week, roughly, from Deadline magazine, as we mentioned in a previous video, always coming in, tending to be on the conservative side of estimates here, with Spider-Man Brand New Day clocking a $465 million worldwide or global projection coming into the weekend. Yeah, very conservative as it turned out. Even I said I thought Deadline was playing this way too safe. There were estimates out there at the time that suggested something as high as $800 million. I thought, while that was on a low probability side, it was still within the realm of possibility. Needless to say, yeah, I was wrong about that too. Not only was it within the realm of possibility, it was on the low end. Officially now, Spider-Man Brand New Day tracking at around $930 million worldwide dollars. And what do we always tell you guys when it overperforms to a scale like this? Quite literally 2-to-1 over the $465 million projection from just 5 days ago. You can expect the final numbers once we see them on Monday to be even higher, possibly at or above $1 billion.
Billions?
And as of right now, the weekend estimates have $357 million of that coming from the domestic box office in North America. $357 million is less than $10 million shy of what Avengers Endgame did back in 2019. Now, before everybody gets terribly excited, again, we got to do the inflation bros thing because I'm the inflation daddy out there.
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
We've been doing this for years on YouTube. And no, it doesn't take anything away from the performance of Spider-Man Brand New Day, but we've got to put things into perspective. Avengers Endgame came out in 2019 where the ticket prices on average were cheaper than the cheapest ticket price I had at my theater yesterday, in the middle of the day, and even on a standard screen. A little over $13. That same theater 7 years ago, a PLF evening primetime ticket price for Avengers Endgame was less than $13, so there's been a big spread. That same evening premium large format ticket for Spider-Man Brand New Day is almost $19. So you've got to adjust that opening weekend up for Endgame about 40%. But comfortably, we can put Avengers domestic opening weekend at over $500 million or $500 million. Still, this is by far the biggest opening that we've had since 2019, and especially post-COVID. And I don't think it's a record that's going to be broken anytime soon. Probably not even by Disney's Avengers Doomsday later in the year, but let's talk about the details here. It's close, oh so close, says Deadline, as Sony Marvel Studios' Brand New Day with $355 million nearly ended Avengers Endgame run for the best opening weekend in North America. That Marvel Studios Russo brothers pick is still holding the 3-day title with 357, but for Sony, there's no problem with being second. I got news for you. They're going to be first by the time this thing is over. It's going to pass it up. I just don't see how it won't right now. This thing has been overperforming so dramatically. Again, 2-to-1 basically on a global scale of what they were expecting, that I don't see how it doesn't pick up another $2 to $5, maybe even $10 million in actuals by the time we get that data later on this week. In regards to admissions this weekend, it's an all-time record for Intelligence, which launched during the COVID era in October of 2020, with Spider-Man Brand New Day counting 24.1 million moviegoers attending, eclipsing No Way Home's previous record of 20 million. Intelligence also asserts and corrects our previous pre-sales number on Brand New Day. The pick didn't have 80 million in advance ticket sales. It actually had 100 million in advance ticket sales by Tuesday, Damn. Premium large format screens updated account for 24% of Brand New Day's weekend, with 3D driving 17%. Little surprise here for me because I'm not a big fan of 3D. It gives me a headache, but a lot of people still like it out there. The Regal Irvine Spectrum, which rarely becomes the top grossing theater in a given tentpole weekend, can toot its horn loudly as Spider-Man's biggest venue with $604,000 at that one theater so far. Breaking down all the PLFs, Dolby Cinema has its biggest opening weekend ever stateside, with 177 sites raking in $10 million plus for Brand New Day, the highest ever per-screen average for the format's history of $56,000 each screen, and record pre-sales with nearly two-thirds of available tickets sold for Brand New Day before the Thursday previews begin. That is absolutely astonishing. But let's move over to the global count now and see what's going on here. Again, $927 million worldwide dollars projected right now for the opening weekend. That is almost positively going to continue to climb as we get actuals. And you see right behind it, the Odyssey nearing $1 billion. So yes, Spider-Man Brand New Day is going to likely have outgrossed the Odyssey's entire run up to this point in its first 3-day domestic, 5-day opening weekend. Nothing to shake a stick at. Now, I'm not trying to take anything away from the Odyssey's box office performance. It has been truly spectacular. Not a movie I cared for, but remember, kids, just because I didn't care for a movie doesn't mean I'm rooting for it to fail. Some people get this idea out there that some of us are like this in the box office world. I'm not one of them. But that being said, Spider-Man is still going to dance on the Odyssey's face when it comes to a box office run. But let's be honest, nothing terribly surprising there. This is Spider-Man after all.
And that's the Ethiopian Shim Sham.
A $927 million global opening at 90,000 screens worldwide. Remember, none of them are IMAX. Spider-Man Brand New Day with a $927 million global opening at 90,000 screens worldwide. Remember, none of them here domestically are in IMAX. That is still locked up for Chris Nolan's The Odyssey for the next couple of weekends. The second best ever for the motion picture history, behind Avengers Endgame, reported of $1.22 billion, and ahead of Avengers Infinity Wars reported $640.5 million. Again, with no deference given to the wild amount of ticket price inflation that we've had since 2018 and 2019. Roughly 40% by most calculations out there when you consider what the same theater's ticket prices have moved to from then till now. And we've seen that a lot in the early 2020s. It's smoothed out a good bit in the last year or two, but from 2021 on through 2024, there was a significant amount of ticket price inflation banked into those years. Of that global monster gross, says Deadline, International rang up $572 million from 66 offshore markets and 73,500 screens. Again, I expect that number to continue to climb because the international box office projections earlier this week were about as far off the mark as the domestic ones were. Brand New Day set all-time opening records across the globe in like-for-likes, including France, 26 million, India, 31 million. So that's basically the whole country showing up for a nickel a ticket.
Thank you. I'll come again.
Biggest opening in the history of India, which has always been Bollywood. Brazil, 23.8 million. Spain, 15.6. Peru, 8.6. Colombia, 6.8. UAE, 6.8. Saudi Arabia, 5.4. Chile, 5. Turkey, 4.7. It goes on and on and on. Do we get China, though? Yes, we do.
I love them. China.
And indeed, we also get the Chinese box office here, leading international markets. $121 million for its opening weekend. And I want to remind folks of something. The last Spider-Man movie that came out in late 2021, almost 4 or 5 years ago now, it didn't even have China in the mix. China did not open Spider-Man No Way Home. It didn't get Spider-Man No Way Home at all. And Spider-Man No Way Home did $1.9 billion around the planet of Earth. The last web-slinging movie that China got at the theaters was Spider-Man Far From Home, and that pulled in $205 million in its total run. Again, Spider-Man Brand New Day just did $121 million in its opening frickin' weekend there. But don't worry, Gone with the Wind, your movie is still safe at $189 million domestic run, basically back in 1939, where a movie ticket was 25 cents a piece on average. That's about 1/60th of the movie price today. This would be about a $10 billion box office run in 2026 at current ticket prices. So you're good. No matter how you slice it, it's an incredible breakdown and an amazing start for Spider-Man Brand New Day. And of course, as we always remind folks, the Sony Pictures Studio, Sony, is the one that's going to win the day here because the Walt Disney Company does not get near as much of this as does Sony. Sony still clocks in with about 75% or so of the profits from this, with Disney's equity and profit share at around 25%. Sony also enjoyed a whopping $300+ million promotional partnership campaign, and we've discussed how these things work before. Don't think that that means that Sony got $300 million before the movie opened from other people. Other people simply spent $300 million of their own money advertising their own products that included the use of Spider-Man in their own pictures. Sony itself spent probably north of $200 million again, just like the last one, to advertise this film in its own marketing campaign. To give you an example, Sony spent about $15 million just to hire one famous soccer player during the World Cup to do a commercial for the movie. That didn't include shooting the commercial or buying ad space. That was just $15 million to get him to show up for 10 seconds to be in a frame with a CGI'd Spider-Man. The question is, where does this movie go from here? Well, it seems almost impossible that a movie like this can at least do a 2x set of legs, even if it's incredibly front-loaded. Fan reaction to this has been incredibly positive. I've seen it. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I'm going to go back to see it again, unlike The Odyssey, which I never wished I saw in the first place. But again, Spider-Man Brand New Day, probably looking at a $2 billion bare minimum box office run, and if it goes to 2.5x, we're talking about $2.5 billion. We're talking about a movie whose final box office run could potentially beat Avengers Endgame, again on an unadjusted basis. But even on an unadjusted basis, that is still an incredible feat 7 years later. We'll keep watching it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know if you guys saw Spider-Man Brand New Day, if you're going to see it, and what you thought about the movie. And we'll see you at 8 p.m. Eastern Sunday night tonight on the live show. Be there.
Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.